Welcome back, everybody. Hope everyone is doing well. My name is Jason. I'll be your host on this CFL talk show, Huskies Huddle. In this video, I recap the first weekend of the 2021 CFL playoffs. But really quickly before we get started, if you want to support the show, the best way to do it is by hitting the like button and subscribing to Huskies Huddle for more CFL content just like this. I greatly appreciate it. And with that said, let's dive into a very exciting first weekend of the CFL playoffs here. Two pretty good games. I think the second game was honestly probably the game of the year that we've seen so far in the 2021 season. But I think the first game had its chances to be one of those great games. It's just a few things happened to derail Montreal in that game. And so we'll start with that game with the Alouettes going to Hamilton, losing this one 23-12 to the Hamilton Tiger Cats. And this game was all about turnovers, right? The first quarter and a half went kind of like I thought it would. I thought Montreal was going to win this game. That's why I picked them to win this game. But I think that the key for the Alouettes in this game was to stay on script. They like to run the ball and keep the run game active in the game plan. And they just could not do this as the game began to quickly slip away from them in the second quarter. They find themselves down by 17 points at halftime. And the turnovers were really the cause of this. So again, the first quarter of the game, the Alouettes moving the ball really, really well. Trevor Harris looks in rhythm, and then Stanback, he's not gaining very many yards, but they're able to keep that run game involved. They have a 3-0 lead. They're crossing half, and then a huge play, and I think this is still the play of the game. Julian Hauser scoops up a Trevor Harris fumble. The Montreal Alouettes offensive line just completely fails them on this one, and they get a big return, sets them up right in the Montreal Alouettes red zone or near there, and they punch it in for the touchdown to take the lead, and they never looked back in this game, the Hamilton Tiger Cats did. So, that was really the turning point of this game, and then it just continued to snowball from there, literally. And from that point forward, the Alouettes really couldn't use the running game to the extent that they really wanted to in their game plan, and it really forced Trevor Harris, who's still only been with this team for like a month or so, to really rely on these receivers and really become this really pass-heavy offense. And this offensive line, as good as they played this year, their strength is to run the ball, and they could not do this against this Hamilton front in this game. And Hamilton, like I said in my preview, the key was to stop William Stanback in this game, and they really did this throughout this game. And they did that in the other previous matchups they did this season when they played the Alouettes. So, I think the Alouettes, they moved the ball pretty well throughout this game. It's the turnovers that cost them. Despite the lack of running game, they did throw the ball pretty well around the yard. And Eugene Lewis had a couple of amazing catches in this game. That one touchdown that the Alouettes did score in this game, it was quite a play. But I think that a lot of people will be blaming Trevor Harris for this one. Granted, that one INT he did throw was completely on him. He had a lot of time to throw, and he just kind of forced it down the field. And Stavros Kassatonis with a great interception, the rookie for the Hamilton Tiger Cats. But I think Trevor Harris, the other two plays were failures by the offensive line to really protect him adequately to give him a chance to make plays in the pocket. And, with a guy like Trevor Harris, you really do need to give him a lot of protection. I think that's one of the major disadvantages of having him versus Vernon Adams in there. But I think that Trevor Harris played well enough in the other aspects to give them a chance to win. It's just the Hamilton Tiger Cats defense, they dictated the game script, took the running game out of it, and took them out of their comfort zone early on in the second quarter of this game, and they never looked back, and that's why the Tiger Cats came away with the victory. And then for the Tiger Cats themselves offensively, I think that it wasn't an impressive day from them, but here's the thing. Out of all of the offenses that played yesterday in the CFL playoffs, they're the one team that really didn't turn the ball over, and that was really the key. Did they have a turnover? I can't recall if they even had one turnover, but they really were pretty careful in terms of taking care of the ball in this game. Mazzoli, pretty modest numbers. I think he had 180 passing yards and a pair of touchdowns, or one touchdown to Brandon Banks. And good to see Brandon Banks get in the end zone after I called him one of the more disappointing players in the CFL this season. And he started to pick it up a little bit towards the back third of the season here. And I'm really excited to see what this Tiger Cats offense, can do next week in Toronto. I mean, they're going to have to score more points, I think, than they did this week. And I don't think they're going to be able to rely on those big defensive game-changing plays that they got this week. The home crowd really making a difference. This is usually where this defense plays its best, is at home. And I'm really interested to see how they play in Toronto and how many Tiger Cats fans are going to make the trip to Toronto to see their team play in the East Final next week. But really excited to see how that game plays out. I mean, this game, obviously, my prediction was wrong. Happy to be wrong, as you'll see. In the next game, I also got that one wrong. But honestly, I'm never upset when my predictions are wrong. I mean, look at my preseason predictions for the Grey Cup. I had the Edmonton Elks winning the Grey Cup. So make fun of me all you want, guys. It's all for the entertainment, and let's talk about the other game. Okay, now let's talk about the really exciting game that happened yesterday in the CFL. Saskatchewan and Calgary going to double overtime with the 33-30 victory for the Saskatchewan Roughriders. And where do you start with this one? The first half was probably, arguably, maybe the worst played game from a quarterback standpoint of the CFL season. You had 5 combined interceptions. I mean, oddly enough, 3 interceptions thrown by Cody Fajardo, all to Jonathan Moxey of the Calgary Stampeders. So congratulations to him for having a fantastic game. And then Ed Gainey for the Saskatchewan Roughriders, he had a pair of interceptions off of Bo Levi Mitchell. So it was a really weird game. And then to top it off, in the start of the second half, you get an onside kick recovery by the Saskatchewan Roughriders. What a call that was. Reminiscent to the Super Bowl between the Colts and Saints from about 11, 12 years ago now. And I think that was really a turning point in making this a really exciting game down the stretch in this game. You saw that both of these quarterbacks really turned it on in the second half, showing a lot of resiliency. I mean, Bo Levi Mitchell, we'll talk about him first because he was the losing quarterback in this one. I mean, he had some really money throws down the stretch in this game. I mean, he had that beautiful 45-yard pass to Reggie Bagleton. Actually, had a couple of those. And I think those were key aspects of getting the Stampeders offense rolling. I mean, Kadeem Carey, really the catalyst in the backfield for this offense, has been the entire season. And they really put themselves in a position to win this game. They just could not close out drives. And that's really the point here at the end, and why the Stampeders didn't win, is because they had multiple opportunities where they just stalled in the red zone, that they were able to move the ball to get to that point, but they just could not punch it in. And that's why we ended up in overtime, and ultimately the Stampeders got a little too over-aggressive in overtime, throwing deep passes when they really should just be setting up for the field goal in overtime, and they just could not connect on those deep passes to ultimately score a touchdown, and that's why they fell out on the wrong side of the equation here. And then for the Saskatchewan Roughriders, Cody Fajardo, really a resilient effort from him. He ended up throwing in another interception in the second half, his 4th of the game. But then after that, you just saw that, and I don't know why the Roughriders don't use this more, is you saw how much his legs made a difference to this offense. And honestly, I think that's why they won this game, is that they got Cody Fajardo on the move, whether it was intentional or unintentional, and he just was scrambling all over the field. And the Stampeders really didn't have an answer for him in terms of their contain. If buy-in, then that opened up a passing lane for Fajardo to potentially make a play. And that's why he was able to kind of get this offense moving in the second half. And I was very happy to see Cody Fajardo really show that toughness. I mean, he had a pretty rough go of it in the 2019 playoffs against Winnipeg, where obviously hits the crossbar on the final play. And then to see him start out the game like this, I was like, oh no. I mean, there's going to be a lot of criticism for Cody Fajardo after this game with the Saskatchewan fans. But he was able to really bounce back in the second half, using those legs to really extend plays, make plays down the field, scramble for first downs. And ultimately, I think that's why he was able to find a way to put together all these drives at the end of the game, put a lot of pressure on this Stamps front seven here. And ultimately, I think that one drive with those throws to Duke Williams really was just a moment for him in his career, and how they were down by 4 at that point. They needed a touchdown to take the lead or stay in the game, and they were able to get it done and drive the length of the field and score a touchdown to extend the game at that point. And then obviously we go into overtime, and they get a break with the missed Rene Paredes field goal, and the Rough Riders find a way to win the game. Really happy for the Rough Riders. Again, I picked the Stampeders in this one. Both of these games this week were just a complete coin flip to me. I mean, happy to see the opposite outcomes happen regardless. And for the previews next week, I'm going to be doing game picks within those previews, unlike I did last week when I just said reserve it for my Grey Cup full playoff predictions. So really interested to see what plays out next week. I think we have two amazing games, two great rivalries, Toronto and Hamilton. I mean, speaks for itself. And then, you know, the traditional Banjo Bowl rivalry between the Saskatchewan Roughriders and the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, like we had in 2019 in the West Final. Saskatchewan going in there trying to get some revenge. I mean, they're going to be heavy underdogs, but we'll see what happens there. And I'll be previewing those games at the end of this week. And with that said, that is going to be the end of today's video, and I want to thank each and every one of you for watching. Once again, my name is Jason. If you want to support the show, the best way to do it is by hitting the like button and subscribing to Huskies Huddle for more CFL content just like this. I greatly appreciate it. And with that said, let me know in the comment section what you took away from the opening weekend of the playoffs. I'd love to hear it. And with that said, I'll see you guys next time. Peace.